You still watch that? That's the question I used to get about my favourite shows. That show's awful. It's so outdated. It's repetitive. It's stupid. Why do you watch it? Are you stupid? I watch old sitcoms, some even with laugh tracks, some older than I am. Some of them I watch on repeat, and have done for years. I mean seriously, I can watch the same show probably 20 times, maybe more, and I don't know why. At least, I didn't used to. It's hard to pinpoint exactly when I became a fan of sitcoms, but I'm gonna try. I think it all started with problems. I guess everything starts with a problem. Maybe the whole universe was just a solution to a complex mathematical problem. Okay, focus. We're talking about TV shows, not the universe. Focus. I guess that word really sums up why I started watching these shows. It was all because of focus, or rather lack of focus. I was a 21st century kid, or thereabouts, born right on the cusp of the century, and as the unfathomable 90s were fading into the fathomless noughties, things were all... I don't know. I couldn't even tell you, because before now time was linear. Now it's exponential and curved and twisted. The population and information is growing so fast we can't actually keep track of it. Okay, so the world was complex, and what about the people in it? Well, they were struggling. In summary, life was too confusing, too fast-paced, too noisy. But I found there were ways to silence it. But then, there in the silence, my inner thoughts became loud, far louder than anything I could hear with my ears. So instead of silence, I tried escapism, as do many people. I read hundreds of books. I even went on to study literature for some time. It was good because I could lose myself in the fiction until the real problems were replaced with fictitious ones. But my mind was so active, and after long days at school and then work, I just caught my eyes slipping. I couldn't keep a track of the line I was on, let alone the word, and the words were jumping around the page. I needed something easier. Film, TV. Better, I suppose, because I didn't have to reach into it, it reached into me. All I had to do was keep my eyes open. But there were other problems. It was still a lot of emotion, and complex storylines, murders, and whodunits. Is that a question? Oh, it's a genre. A subgenre. Well, what other subgenres are there? No. Wait. Sitcom. Situational comedy, something that resets every episode. Funny, but not hard to follow. Predictable characters, but lovable at the same time. And first it started with the cartoons, and then I found the shows that I used to watch as a young child, but had forgotten about for some time. I won't lie, at first it was laziness that was the appeal. I didn't have to concentrate, I didn't have to remember 12 different plot lines or wonder who was betraying who. They were comfortable. I'd put one on after a long day, and for a while I thought that was all they were. Comfort. Background noise. But after years of watching them, I started wondering whether something else was happening, because I wasn't just listening out for the punchlines anymore. I was watching the characters. Every sitcom has them. The one who's arrogant, the one who's anxious, the one who's desperate, the one who hides everything behind humour, the one who can't commit, and the one who loves too much. Almost caricatures. In real life, nobody's actually like that. Except they are. I think we can agree these characters are not ordinary and mundane, but they're realistic in a different way. They're realistic because they're exaggerated pieces of ordinary people. They're broken parts of a whole. Each character carries one habit, one insecurity, a defense mechanism just a little louder than the rest of us. And that's why they work. They're predictable. People in my life were not. Friends changed. Teachers changed. Relationships changed. Someone could wake up in a completely different mood from yesterday, and I'd have no idea why. I guess I never considered myself to be a people person. Real people are frustratingly inconsistent, but sitcom characters, they're dependable. Not because they're shallow, but because they're written around a center. You know roughly how they'll react, you know what they'll find funny, and you know what scares them. Predictability is a flower bed for safety. Then there are the flaws. Every great sitcom character is deeply and obviously flawed. They're selfish or immature or insecure, jealous, oblivious, competitive. Sometimes they're genuinely irritating, and yet we keep inviting them back into our homes, week after week, year after year. Why? We wouldn't do this with real people if they were this annoying. But sitcoms do something that real life rarely gives us the chance to do. After 25 minutes, they repeat, they reset. That's what situational comedy means. It's a TV homeostasis, where any progress or mistakes are all pulled back to an equilibrium. And so the character may evolve over the seasons, but the evolution is extremely slow. Slow enough for us to really get to know them. The first time I met a character, I would judge them. The 10th time, I would laugh at them. The 20th time, I would laugh with them. I started making excuses for them, not because they changed, but because I had. I knew where their behaviour came from. I saw the insecurity underneath the arrogance, the loneliness underneath the sarcasm, the fear underneath the perfectionism. Eventually I realised I wasn't analysing sitcom characters because they were fictional. I guess the only way of really explaining it is that they were safe. Safe enough to practice understanding another person. Safe enough to ask questions without consequences. And something peculiar started happening, you see, because the more I understood them, the easier it became to understand real people. I'd meet someone difficult and instead of asking what's wrong with them, I'd find myself asking what happened to them. Eventually I realised I didn't watch these shows to relax. I mean, I did, but in that relaxed state I could truly begin to understand myself and others. Sitcoms drip-fed complex emotional information to me in very short, gentle and digestible amounts, something even the writers never intended. You see, sitcoms have a mind of their own. I realised something else. In every single sitcom, our favourite character says something about us. It's very telling, but what's equally telling is our least favourite character. Sometimes they reveal our own insecurities and fears, and if we can empathise with them and forgive them, maybe we can forgive ourselves. This isn't a TV screen at this point, it's a mirror. A mirror with lots of different versions of yourself that you get to explore. Maybe that's why, despite there being more shows than ever before, hundreds of millions of people still return to the same familiar shows. Old favourites like Friends, The Big Bang Theory, The Office, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Seinfeld, How I Met Your Mother, and that's just a few of the American ones. They continue to be among the most watched series on streaming services years after they finished, decades in some cases, and streaming services pay enormous sums to keep them because people don't just discover these shows, they come back to them after years, again and again. Maybe we aren't looking for something new. In an ever-changing world, now more than ever, maybe we're looking for something that doesn't change, something that resets. But there's something else, and I didn't notice for a long time. It's the one-sided bond you form with someone who doesn't know you exist. We usually talk about it like it's a modern problem, a symptom of screens, of influencers, of loneliness. But sitcom characters were doing this to us long before anyone coined the term. Because here's the strange part. I know what makes Chandler deflect. I know the exact face Jim makes at the fourth wall before Dwight even finishes his sentence. And these relationships feel reciprocal. Our brains aren't fully equipped to distinguish a face we've watched attentively for 200 episodes from a face that's watched us back. As far as some older, more primitive part of the brain is concerned, familiarity is intimacy. If I've seen your face enough times, in enough emotional situations, some part of me registers that as knowing you. So maybe it wasn't that I loved fictional people instead of real ones. Maybe it's just that fictional people were the first place that we practiced loving anyone, in detail, at all. There's a concept in psychology about the nervous system needing what's called cues of safety, predictable rhythms, familiar patterns, environments where nothing sudden is coming, and when the nervous system detects those cues it downshifts. It stops bracing, and I think that's what a laugh track actually does, underneath the surface. It's a rhythm. It tells your body over and over nothing dangerous is about to happen here. You can hear it before the jokes even land, and some small unconscious part of you settles half a second early, just from the cue. Real life doesn't do that. Real life doesn't warn you. So maybe what I was drawn to wasn't the comedy. Maybe it was the rhythm underneath the comedy. A rhythm my body could trust. Which raises a question I hadn't really asked myself before. Why do I laugh at a joke I've already heard 200 times? I know the punchline, I know it before the characters even say it, and yet the laugh still comes. That shouldn't happen. Comedy is supposed to rely on surprise. The whole architecture of a joke is a setup that leads you one way, and a punchline that turns you another. Once you know the turn, the surprise is gone, and so the laugh should be gone as well. But it turns out, surprise was never the only mechanism. There's an idea called the reward of expectation confirmed, which We tend to talk about humour like it's all subverted expectation, the rug pulled out from underneath us. But there's a second kind of pleasure that comes from anticipating something correctly, from knowing exactly what's coming and then getting to watch it arrive precisely on cue. It's the same neurological satisfaction as a familiar chord progression resolving exactly where your ears expect it to. It's essentially why we listen to music on repeat. The first time, I'm laughing at the joke. The 9th time, I'm laughing because I called it, because I know this person, this character, well enough to predict them. And there's something moving about that. It's the same pleasure as knowing someone so well you can finish their sentence. Except the sentence is a punchline and the person is fictional, and it doesn't matter because my nervous system doesn't really check for that distinction. So all along, the laugh track's real function was cueing recognition. And recognition, it turns out, is its own kind of reward. And that feeling, the small hit of, I know this, I know you, might be closer to why I kept coming back than the jokes themselves. The world I came from is vast, scary, and unpredictable. The sitcom world is not. So when someone asked me why I watch sitcoms, and why I watch them again and again, I think what I actually wanted to say was, I'm not rewatching the plots. I already know the plot. I'm rehearsing something. Some private, wordless understanding of how emotions work, how comedy works, how mistakes happen, and how forgiveness is possible. One 25-minute episode at a time. So, you still watch that? Yeah, I sure do. And I'm not going to stop anytime soon.